Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to another Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Ardis Porter, your local realtor with Keller Williams Spurs. And you know, I have with me again Kyle Kruso from Legacy Mortgage. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm a really good artist. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Excited to talk about the VA loan and how to get people into home ownership using that option.
Me too.
All right. So let's get started. Um, Keep it simple. What is a VA loan and who qualifies for it?
So the VA loan, just to keep it simple, it is a loan that is backed by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So that's a guaranteed loan by them, which makes it less risky for lenders, which is great. Um, Basically, it's for veterans, and basically it's 90 days consecutive of active duty service during wartime, or if they've served 181 days of active service during peacetime, or if they have 6 years or more of service in the National Guard. Those are all that's going to be eligible for it. Surviving spouses as well too. To keep in mind, a lot of people know that.
Okay, so surviving spouses as well as those
Yeah.
members of duty. What makes the VA loan different from other loan types like FHA or conventional?
Biggest thing, obviously, as you know, is the no down payment. Whereas FHA, they're going to require at least a 3.5% down payment, and then conventional being about 3 to 5%. So that's definitely the coolest thing. Also, there is no PMI on a VA loan, which is phenomenal. FHA, they're going to have that on there for usually the life of the loan, unless you're putting down more than 10%, and then it's on there for 11 years. And conventional, that's going to be PMI until you have reached 20% loan to value. So um, and then credit score is pretty flexible on a VA loan. A lot of people think like you got to have really good credit for a VA loan. Not the case. It does vary lender to lender, but typically about 580 is a good measuring stick. So conventional, you got to be at least 620 to get that type of loan. So VA loans do offer lower credit score requirements as well.
Okay, that's good. That's giving people more options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you explain the zero down benefit and how that works in today's market?
All right. So the biggest benefit of zero down is going to be allowing the buyer, the borrower, to keep money in their pocket that they would normally have to bring for that down payment, so they can use that money for closing costs. If they can't get the seller to pay any of them, you can use that money for any necessary upgrades they might want to do to the property, buying appliances, buying furniture. And really just kind of gives them extra money to invest out, obviously, as well, without having to be tied up into a mortgage. So that's definitely the biggest benefit. And in today's market, like, let's be honest, not a lot of folks have a ton of money saved up for down payment and closing costs. So if there's an option to offer these veterans some relief on that, definitely a huge benefit in today's market and today's economy.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Um, are there any different fees or upfront costs associated with the VA loan?
So really, it's pretty typical as far as upfront costs. You're going to have your appraisal you pay for. You're going to have your inspection that you're going to want to do. But the biggest thing on a VA loan that no other loans really have is a funding fee. So the VA funding fee is required for any veteran that does not receive service-connected disability. So if they do receive any percentage of disability from the VA, that funding fee is waived. But if not, it just gets rolled into the mortgage. So it's not like they're actually paying it, but it is something to keep in mind because it does make your loan amount a little bit higher.
Mhm.
Um, and they're typically from about 1.5 to like 3.5% in terms of the percentage of the funding fee. So if you're a first time VA user, no down payment, it's usually about 2.15% of the loan amount. And then as you put more money down, that gets a little bit smaller. If you're a subsequent VA loan user, that gets up to around 3% for the funding fee. And then obviously, as you put more down, that shrinks as well. So to answer your question, yes, there is a pretty much similar upfront cost like appraisal inspection, but the VA funding fee is something to keep in mind for the VA.
Okay, so is the funding fee like paid out with the mortgage or at closing?
Correct. So typically, if that funding fee can be paid up front, if you can choose to pay it up front, but most just roll it right into your loan. So it's just part of your monthly payment.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a good
Mm-hmm.
option.
Yeah.
So we already know that there's no PMI. Can a VA loan be used to buy a fixer-upper or multi family property?
Fixer upper, tricky, just because they do have the appraisers got to sign off on everything. So Cosmetic stuff, yes, definitely. But if there's like major like structural issues or other issues that are causing to safety, that might get flagged by the appraiser.
Mhm.
They can still close on that loan as long as the repairs are made, but they can't use the VA loan to do like a fix up a house that is not livable.
Right.
And multi-unit families totally allowed. They can use their VA loan to purchase one, two, three, even up to 4 unit properties as long as they live in one of those units. So they
Okay.
can buy a 3 unit house, live in one, rent out the others. It's a
Yeah.
great
And
it's a
that seems
great
to be a great investment play that it seems like a lot of people are talking about. So
100%. I mean, think about it. You have someone else pretty much making your mortgage payment for you.
yeah, yeah. And then you build interest and have that equity or build equity in that home over time.
Yeah, 100%. Smart way to go.
Yeah. Um, can it be used for new construction or just existing homes?
That can be used for new construction, whether that would be, you're buying it from a builder and you're buying, the land and the home all in one transaction, just like a standard purchase for an existing home.
Okay.
They can even be used for, construction loans to purchase the land as well as finance the build for the home. And really, is if the land is involved in it, then they just had, the building would just have to, start immediately after closing. So, yes, to answer your question, it can be used for new construction homes. It's not just specific for existing properties.
Okay. Can they also be used for condos?
Yes, VA loans can be used for condos. It's just like FHA, they just have to be VA approved. So, very easy way to find that out. You just basically you go online and type in VA approved condos. It'll bring up a website where you type in a zip code and that'll list all the condos that are approved by the VA. And even if they're not approved by the VA, the steps aren't really extensive to have for them to get that approval. So a lot of times we've seen that they can do that. Might take a little bit of extra time for sure, but it's not impossible.
Okay. So what we're hearing is you got options with the
You
VA.
got options.
You
You
have
got it. You have a lot of different types of property.
for sure. What's the typical approval process for a VA loan? Is it harder or easier than other loans?
No, it's about the same. This is the biggest thing that you're going to want to have, and a lot of times we can pull it too. But the COE, so the certificate of eligibility, that just pretty much shows that you are able to obtain VA financing. So you probably want to get that looked up before you start getting pre-approved, just so you know, hey, I'm going to be good to go on this. But like I said, we can pull that up for you. Usually, it's just a social security number. So um, outside of that, no, I mean it's like I said before, the credit score, it's very flexible. So not a lot of extra hoops to have to jump through. It's very similar to being approved for FHA or a conventional loan.
Okay. What are some common misconceptions about the VA loan that you like to clear up?
Oh, the biggest thing is I think not a lot of folks know that the VA loan is only for veterans who are out of the military, but that can be they can use like active duty service members can take advantage of it. Reserves, National Guard members are eligible, as long as they have the time served in that area there to be able to be eligible for a VA loan. And then even just surviving spouses, not just for veterans who've been discharged. So definitely, that's one of the misconceptions. You see a lot of some agents will turn their nose up a little bit because they think there might be time consuming or excessive red tape, but there may be additional steps for a VA loan, such as like a pest inspection, but that's not very time consuming. It's not very expensive,
Right.
and they still require that the FHA and conventional still require that the house is going to be livable. It's going to be there's no safety concerns, structurally sound. So there really is. It's definitely a misconception that people think it takes long or there's a lot of red tape because it's very similar to FHA or VA loans. To be honest with you,
Okay.
um, as far as the um, biggest one that I think is veterans say, I hear it a lot. They say, well, I've already used my VA loan, so I can't use another VA loan. Not true. There's no limit on how many times you can use your VA loan in your lifetime. It just really all comes down to how much entitlement that you have and, just your specific situation. So it's a case by case basis, but you can use that thing more than once. A lot of people think it's only a one time ticket there, but um, yeah, I mean, those are some of the misconceptions that I see quite a bit, honestly.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, so if you used it in the past, you could be eligible again. We got to reach out to Kyle.
100%.
Okay. Um, does the seller have to cover the specific cost with the VA loan? Should sellers be afraid when they see the VA loan offers?
So there used to it's state by state, but in our state of Michigan here, some counties here in Michigan will require a VA pest inspection.
Hmm.
In the past, that was pretty hard fast rule that the seller must cover that. So we have to have a receipt that it was paid by the seller, but that's not the case anymore. It's really just negotiable between the buyer and seller now. So you can negotiate it
Yeah.
up front to have them pay it, but they don't have to. So believe it, even though it's probably only 150 bucks to do it, some sellers would kind of turn the nose up on that, but that's not the case anymore. And I don't think that they should be worried, about a VA loan. Kind of goes back to some of those misconceptions we talked about. It's very similar to an FHA or conventional loan, and obviously, these veterans have done a lot for our country and sacrificed so much. So, I would love for a veteran to buy my house. That'd be great.
Right. Right. Yeah, and then with them not having a down payment and that being able to be negotiable, them being able to save some money, it might be okay to spend a few $100s for a
Oh
payment
yeah,
protection as the buyer. So
absolutely.
yeah. Well, you already answered that. A VA loan can be used more than once.
Yes.
And what is VA entitlement and how does it affect someone's ability to buy again with a VA loan?
So VA entitlement is essentially when you have when you use your VA loan. Let's say you bought your house, your first house for 300,000 with in a county with a loan limit of $766,000. You've used about $75,000 of your entitlement, so you have up to about 144,000 entitlement. It's not a loan limit or anything like that. It's just a base guarantee.
Hmm.
So when I was just speaking about having multiple VA, you could use multiple VA loans in your life. You can actually have two VA loans going at the same time.
Hmm.
It's called your bonus entitlement. So if you own a house VA right now and circumstances change, you have to move for a job or your family size is getting bigger, you can kick in your bonus entitlement, which kicks in for loans over $144,000. So they can have two VA loans going at the same time. The easiest thing that I can say, like just to kind of give you some scenarios, let's say you bought it for your first house and you sold the house or you paid the loan off. Your full entitlement is restored. You have no restrictions. If you still own home and you still want a VA loan, like I just said, it just depends on your remaining entitlement and the new purchase price of the home. Or if let's say you got a VA loan and you refinance it into a conventional loan, then the full entitlement is restored again. You can use it at will there. So they definitely can use this thing more than once. Sorry.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome to know. Um, so what advice would you give a VA loan buyer to make the process smoother?
So the biggest thing is like I touched on a little bit ago is make sure you have your COE, your certificate of eligibility, ready if you can. If not, we can find that for you. But that just says, hey, you're able to get a VA loan. Outside of that, you just want to make sure that just like any standard loan, you want to make sure that you're not making large purchases or opening up a lot of new credit when you're starting to look for a house. Getting your pay stubs, your W-2s, and all that stuff together helps as well. Just speed the process up of your pre-approval. Um, I think, like I said, it's not very dissimilar from how you get ready for an FHA or conventional loan.
Hmm.
Really, the first thing you want to do is just you want to take that first step and talk to a lender, and they'll tell you, hey, this is what it is. You're good to go, and this is how it's going to look. This is your payments. This is how much money you're going to need, just so you have all that information up front. And that's just going to make the home search that much more enjoyable, knowing that your financing is all set.
And how soon should they reach out to you, Kyle?
If you're looking to buy a house in the next 3 to 6 months, now, definitely now. A lot of these approvals are valid for at least 90 days, and even the ones that go over, we can extend it no problem without having to redo everything. Um, but yeah, I would say within 3 to 6 months, if you're looking, now is the time. If you think you're looking in the next year, I would say give it about 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Well, I think you shared a lot of great information, Kyle, and I appreciate you as always coming on
Yeah,
Talk About It Tuesday.
thanks for having me. I love coming on here.
Thank you. I appreciate you so much. So again, if you are a veteran or active service member, um, eligible spouses, what is it?
Yep,
Sorry.
yep. Surviving spouses, surviving spouses.
Surviving
Yep.
spouses. Then I need you to reach out to Kyle Kruso. He will get you ready with a VA loan and see if you are eligible for that. So again, thank you, Kyle, and thank you for watching Talk About It Tuesday.
Let's talk about it.
All right, have a great day.